sheer absolute frantic mania is what I saw across social media today in a lot of trading discords. I got a few DMs. People want to know what's going to happen. What's the SPY going to do? Are we bullish? Are we bearish here? What do we do? What do we do? I need you to know. I need you to hold my hand, wipe my ass for me. Ah! Let's calm down. Just calm down. It's okay. If you're in positions and you're freaking out because you don't have certainty, first of all, close them. Second, remember what trading is. Okay? This is not a game of certainty. No matter how certain someone sounds on X, it's not. Okay? If there was ever any certainty in markets, even when we're talking about, my trading strategy has a 70% win rate, that's cool. You still don't know when that 70% is going to hit or when that 30 is going to hit. You don't know. So even when you're rolling strategies like that, you still got to control your position sizing. That's the only real way to control the risk, right? Because it's an embracing of uncertainty. It is thinking in bets and probabilities and protecting that mental. And I got some answers. Okay, I got some answers. I got some stuff I'm pretty confident in. And some other stuff where there's some paths that we need to keep an eye on. Some different probabilities. So we'll talk about it. Before we talk about all that, small account here, we're still kind of sitting at 150% returns so far since we started the small account challenge, which I think I'm going to live stream tomorrow, by the way. So if you're watching this, leave a like and follow me. I'll post this on the socials so you don't miss the live stream. But let's recap today. Okay. The only major thing I came in with today with two major things. I came in with a lot of gold calls, pretty sizable starter position. And then I came in with SPY puts. And I'm trying to hunt to see if gold's going to form a bottom here. So far it is holding that recent bottom. And I actually tried to size up on the dip today. I'm 50-50 on if I should have taken some profits. We were up like 40% on the open. But it just looks so strong off the open. I thought I'd just hold it and just see if we can catch a continuation. I'll put some time on that too. And I don't mind actually kind of setting it out. Pretty likely that we kind of chop here or see a nice bounce into like the broader weakness of tech. Gold has served as a nice safety, so we'll see how that plays out. I don't have super big opinions. I do think the low is probably in for the day. Not for the day, but for the short term. I think we're ready to start rallying back up. And I even tried to feel out some silvers, but I ended up closing them. Not for a loss, just at even. But the big position was SPY puts. And I bought SPY puts yesterday, which might seem a bit odd, but I thought it was extremely obvious. And then today I also bought 0DTE puts because it looked extremely obvious. And I actually bought those pretty much right off the open. And the big thing was like, even my larger put position yesterday, I bought like right here, and then the market rallied against me and I was like barely down. And the reason for that was because VIX was marching up with the SPY. And pretty much every time you see that happen, it's a good indication that one of these is going to give out. And it usually does in a pretty ugly fashion. And given how far SPX was above its bullish EMA, typically when we get really above this bullish EMA, we kind of do a back test, gets extended, and we back test it, gets extended, back test it, gets extended, back test it, gets extended, back test it. It's very normal price action. Come test that really bullish, 921 EMA. Still buyers here. All right, let's keep going up. Normal price action. And I did make a mistake because we had that same relationship this morning. So into yesterday's close, I was up about 15% on my larger position. And I was looking at like the structure of things, how VIX looked, how SPY looked, how extended it was. And I said, I'm going to swing it. We come in today, we set a new high and I'm up. I'm still up. Very rare. Market set a new high, I'm up on my puts. That tells me hold. Clear sign to hold. I guess there was two mistakes. First mistake was not adding when I saw that. I did add new positions. I added 0DTEs and another expiration. A second mistake was on this first break when the market kind of consolidated, but it didn't seem like it wanted to give. I went ahead and took off the larger position into the event, even though I even said it multiple times in the Discord. Like, puts still look great here. I was talking this morning about puts like amazing on Tesla here too. I didn't take them. Our 0DTEs, we ended up selling pretty much near the bottom for 100%. And then the smaller expiration was closer to 40%. So we're pretty much, we actually should be, I'm out of all the puts right now. And I'm left with some longs, and some Carvana puts in the small account. Because pretty much after those SPY trades, the rest of the day was kind of managing existing positions. I did try some NVIDIA longs. This is actually a good point for newer traders. I put out a pretty large like Nvidia swing actually for December. Um, and then after I put it on, I didn't like how it felt. I was really nervous about it. And so I took it off because I was really nervous about it. I was kind of nervous because of how everything still had to come and back tested these bullish EMAs. And there's two things about that. One, it's usually a good idea if you set something up and you're nervous about it to just go ahead and close it and wait till those convictions find you. Two, there could also be an issue with just being nervous about how expensive everything is. NVIDIA didn't make a bunch of promises, and it is very bullish, but this is still a very expensive market, and the breadth decay is still very broad. And I noticed that like on my For You page, which I started paying more attention to kind of see what the algo's boosting. I noticed that the algo really is boosting everything everyone's paying attention to. So if the market's green, everything I see on there is bullish. If the market's red like today, everything I see is bearish. It's kind of wild to see because I think that's now the best indicator of where sentiment is. But despite that, if we look at like the fear and greed index, we're up 17 points despite people still being really nervous. And we'll see what it looks like tomorrow if the sell-off that we got on the big tech names emboldens people, and we'll talk about that more in a moment here. I just think it's very good to just talk about that NVIDIA. We actually took away a few profits there, a few bucks. And maybe I get back in tomorrow. But I want to see some more clarification. And I want those convictions to come back. Maybe we just let the rest of the big tech earnings come out, and then we'll try it. But we are, the whole thinking behind it is the idea that if we don't get some sort of event, the rest of the big tech earnings are fine, or we don't get a continuation tomorrow, we're going to see fund managers pile into this market, one after the other. And just drive this thing higher. If you read the newsletter, we've talked about that a lot. And that's what's going to happen, is now you've got career risk. And pretty much everyone's aware that, at the end of the year, especially for like these mutual funds, keep in mind there's thousands of mutual funds. If they report at the end of the quarter and they don't own the stuff that's the only things that are up, which, like today is 10 stocks. They don't own any of that. You're going to get fired. People are just going to be like, oh, this guy must suck. And, you might be rewarded in that in a few years if there is some sort of big bubble collapse, which I think there will be. But for now, you're going to lose your job. So you're not even going to have a fund management done. So you got to play the game and you got to try to time the high. Because if you're not in it, you don't have a job. Tough, tricky. But what that does is it causes a squeeze at the end of the year. So that was the idea with just saying, I guess we got to get long NVIDIA. And then pretty much until the next FOMC, because this will probably set the trend for pretty much the whole month of November. So that was the thoughts there. But patience is fine. Carvana sell-off is good. I don't think the earnings was actually that bad. I think there's a lot of delusional people here that want to see crazy earnings. The earnings, especially when you look at the backdrop of the environment, it still doesn't make sense to me. And when I dig deeper into these reports, it still seems highly suspicious. Just everything about this company, it just stinks. It just smells awful. Something's not right. Something's up. So actually I have a pretty sizable position in the small account that should print pretty nicely on that move. And then looking at this, I'd be interesting to see if we can get a bounce like 328, maybe even like all the way to 330. It gets a denial. That might be a nice short to kind of retest this 305 low. They get a nice continuation. Keep in mind, I know this looks like a big move and it looks like game over, but honestly, with how overvalued this stock is, that move is literally nothing. You can cut this stock in half from here and it would be like just still a reasonable valuation. It actually trades at such a high PE ratio. I don't even know why. Listening to Carvana earnings calls is miserable because the shareholders ask the dumbest questions. Nothing actually worth asking is ever asked on a Carvana earnings call. It is an absolute joke. Anyways, moving on. Meta sold off on earnings because of basically Zuck came out. I even made a meme about it, but Zuck came out and said that they are intentionally overspending because they were planning for the overly optimistic outcome of which is like the release of generative AI, which market didn't like at all. Honestly, it's, people are surprised by this, but I'm actually not surprised by this at all because this is the same exact thing he did with the metaverse. And when the market punished him and sold off like this, and everyone said, "Oh, it's game over," Zuck pivoted and said, "Okay, fine, you guys win. I'll knock it off." But he's a bit of a psycho, and he wants to win. He's that was this low here down at the 91s. If people forgot, this was spending huge on the metaverse, and he persisted for a while wanting to do that. before he finally gave in to the market saying this ain't the move. So we could see that again. Or he could pivot. Wait for that pivot to him to say, okay, we'll tone down the spending. We'll spend, we'll spend what Microsoft spends rather than twice what Microsoft spends, which is what he's saying right now. 3x what Google's spending. So he's going to tone that down. And that'll be the bullish catalyst from here. But to me, it's not even the big market movement. That's the thing. Meta took this huge dump. I don't even think Qs are even down that much in the post market at all, because NVIDIA is just a show. And if we look at NVIDIA, like NVIDIA still looks great here. It sold off a bit and almost recovered the full move in the after hours. And then we have Microsoft, and everyone's crunching the numbers on the OpenAI loss generated from Microsoft. No, the losses because of OpenAI that Microsoft received, trying to figure out how much OpenAI is losing, and whatever. OpenAI is going to be fine. Everyone's too all in on that company to let it fail. They need it to succeed, or they all look stupid, and it's hard to walk away from spending that much money. Same as all these data centers and stuff, which I should probably just write a full newsletter on that, because I think everyone's too doomer about all the energy infrastructure spending and data center spending. Even if AI doesn't work, it's all great. It's the short of it. The short of it is, if you want to overproduce energy and then we don't need it, and guess what? All your fears, I don't even think all the fears about energy prices going through the roof are valid at all. Because most of this data center infrastructure and energy infrastructure takes a decade to make. And I'm sorry, but I don't believe that the cost of the compute, the cost per token, will still be as high by then as it is now. Because I think most of these AI models are pretty similar to one another. And they've all they seem to be, could change, seem to be reaching a cap of like performance. That we're starting to hit a wall. Maybe we need a year or two to get over that wall and make the next leap forward. And so in that intermediate term, your differentiation from your competitors is how cheap is it to run your AI? How low can you get that cost per token? And there's already been a lot of effort to do that, right? And China's done a really great job of that. There's a really cheap, So that'll be the next step. And what that does is it lowers the cost of compute, and then you don't need as much energy. So I think about the fears there, which is just classic. It's a classic misunderstanding of how tech works and how AI will work, was rich at the bottom. But so be it. Same story, different day on that front. In general, I don't think any of these earnings are too bad. The fear and greed index is still improving. We're walking into the end of the year where people need to flow in. So long as someone doesn't blow up on too much leverage, don't have like a carry trade blow up, I'm pretty bullish here. We need to see the rest of those big tech earnings tomorrow. You get through tomorrow, and then you pretty much smooth sailing. We already know NVIDIA's earnings is going to be good. AMD might be a bit over its heels. It's gotten a nice run up because of headlines, and not because of actual more revenue. So that might be concerning. But overall, things look pretty good here for the market. And I wouldn't be too concerned. And for any of those events, even for tomorrow, there's no reason to front run stuff here. If you're going to get a melt up into the end of the year, okay, what are we looking at for December? You're 51 days. You got 51 days. You can take one more day and then write a trend for 50 more days. Okay? And for those end of the year flows, there might be some bearish stuff along the way there. For the economy, probably won't affect the market. As Powell said earlier today, consumer spending is a major portion of the market. And it's mostly made up by the richest folks. The richest cohort is actually doing a majority of the spending. And he's like, oh, it's fine because GDP is still growing. What? I couldn't believe he actually said that out loud. Fuck the poor people. He just pulled a full-blown Andrew Tate. But he did it with a beard and suit. I guess Tate has a beard, whatever. Yeah. That only works for so long, and it's going to lead to some social issues. But, market will be fine. Rich are going to feel rich as long as the market's up, and then when it starts to crash, they all sell at the same time, and everyone's going to be forced into the trade, and when everything crashes, you look around, and what do you buy? Well, you start losing these top 10, it gets ugly. But for now, we already blew out of my bear case, right? We're already through it. And this could be a top here that gets a further continuation. But let's just watch CCMAs here. Because so far on this pullback, we once again defended the top of this bullish wedge here. So super hard to be bearish in this moment. Let those earnings come out. If those lead to continuations and you lose, let's say on the 65 minute, you lose like 6,800. All right. Let's go to 6,400 from there. That sounds good. That'd be fun. Fun ride. I have more to say about that, but I guess I'll wait. Another video, another day. We're coming up on 20 minutes. People are to complain about 10-minute videos. It's like, oh my gosh. How am I supposed to say anything of substance in 2-minute clips? So we want me to put out 50 videos a day of 2-minute clips? Not gonna work. Okay. Anyways, lots of big stuff's coming up. So follow me. Pay attention. Live stream's coming up. I think I'm just gonna live stream the small account tomorrow. I'll just put it in privacy mode. And then we'll trade straight from there and just show you the contracts and stuff. I think that'll be a fun live stream, a good way to mix it up, rather than just sharing my Trinity screen. Which, I mean, yeah. Yeah, go read that last newsletter, and that's all I got. God bless. Good night.